So let's talk about the 6-level model and how that impacts decision making.
Well, I couldn't get it any simpler than 6 levels that we have commitments with ourselves. Let's go top down. Why are you on the planet? What's your basic intentionality? What's your purpose? And by the way, you can use this model for an enterprise or an organization as well as for people individually. As a matter of fact, if you're running your own company, you probably need to do them both. And they probably need to mesh together. So it gets a little complicated.
And I guess individually and as a whole family.
Absolutely. Any kind of an enterprise or group of people together. And it creates a framework for conversations that helps clarify those conversations a lot. Let's take the top level first. That's what I call purpose and principles. Prime driver. Right? You wouldn't be off purpose for your company. You wouldn't want to be off purpose for your family. You wouldn't be off your core values. What really, really, really matters to you? So the business, what business are you in? And what are your core principles? Your family, what are your core principles? Where are you going? What matters most about all that? So now understanding your life purpose, is that going to help you decide which email to write first? A little bit, right? But then you're going to need to get more operational. So let's come down. I call these different horizons. There's horizon 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the ground level. So horizon 5 would be that top level, purpose and principles and values. Horizon 4 would be, okay, if you are wildly successfully implementing that purpose or fulfilling your purpose within your values, what would wild success look like? This is the vision level. So Horizon 4 would be, hey, 5 years from now, what would a Sunday afternoon be like? Where are you going to be, lifestyle, career-wise, your family? Look the long term. So if you look at the long game, that would be vision. That's another level of commitment. So people could have very similar purposes, but you might have a very different vision than I will about what it looks like out there in the world. So if you know what your ideal scene or wild success would look like for you, is that going to help you decide which email to write first? A little bit more. But then you're going to probably need to get it more operational and say, well, gee, but for the next 3 to 24 months, what do I need to accomplish that will actually start to make that vision happen? And that would be Horizon 3, which we refer to as the typical kind of goals, objectives. So in your companies, you have that. Maybe your families, what do we want to have true by the end of this year in terms of what's going on? So that would be goals and objectives, Horizon 3. Now, if you had that clear, both professionally and personally, is that going to help you decide which email to write first? A little bit more. But then you're still going to need to make sure that you have an enterprise, either the health and balance of an organization to get to that goal and that vision, or for your family or for yourself personally, you're going to need to make sure there's balance and harmony of the entity itself. And that's Horizon 2. Those are things you need to maintain. For instance, personally, how's your health? How's your finances? How's your own career? How's your relationships? How's family? How's environment? How's your home? How's recreation? So those are not things to finish. Those are just things that I need to maintain. If my health is not what it needs to be, then I'm not going to get the vision. If my finances aren't being managed appropriately. So that just becomes a template or a checklist, if you will, at a fairly high level about how is your life, and you would need to see that. In work, this would be your org chart. What are all the things that need to be managed and maintained? The roles and accountabilities in your company, asset management, strategic thinking, quality control, customer service, system design, whatever. You say, well, what are the hats you wear that need to be maintained? Do you ever finish growing sales? No. That's just something you need to maintain or monitor. Is it at the level we need? That's Horizon 2. Now, if you get that clear, is that going to help you decide which email to write first? A little bit more. And then you have, what are all the things you need to finish about any of that? And that's Horizon 1, which would be projects, which we've talked about already. Those are the get tires on the car, hire the assistant, launch the ad campaign, get the kids onto cruise control, et cetera. That's the project level. And that's a Horizon 1. Again, that's a horizon that most people have not really clearly defined, all because it's changing and it's a fairly large context. And they still don't have anything to do to get down to the ground level. Right? Now, if you had your project list complete, is that going to help you decide which email to write first? A lot more. But then you're still going to need to say, yeah, but what do I need to do about all those projects? What's my inventory of doingness, if you will? And that's the next actions list. Those are the things on your calendar as well as all the actions that you have. And most people have 100 to 150 of those. Emails to send, phone calls, stuff to buy at the store, stuff to talk to people about, et cetera. So I couldn't get it any simpler than that. Those are all very specific and discrete horizons that we have commitments. We're taking actions. Hopefully and ideally, your actions are serving the projects you need to finish and the accountabilities of things you need to maintain that are then moving you toward the goals that you're trying to accomplish which are then going to fulfill the vision that you have about where you're going lifestyle or career-wise and organizationally or family-wise or whatever, which is then ultimately fulfilling, your purpose within your values. Now, that's nice that those could all be lined up together, but it's a constant moving target, essentially. Your spouse comes home and they say, gee, dear, I've just been given a major career opportunity, but we're going to have to move to Afghanistan for a year. You'll have a Horizon 4 dinner. Whoops, we now need to think at a whole different level. And so being able to have those different kind of contexts and understand that some people are coming in, I want to talk vision, and some people are going, yeah, but I would decide the next action, and you can get very convoluted. So this gives you oftentimes a very good way to say, okay, are we having a vision discussion right now, or are we having a project discussion right now in terms of what we need to do? And it's helped clarify a lot for a lot of people.
I had a personal example that sort of fits in this framework. My wife and I have committed to, we've been married about a year, we've committed to try and be healthier later in life. And that meant getting an exercise program together now, which led us to deciding to compete together in a triathlon, which put together a daily training schedule to be able to be prepared in the 90 days leading up to the triathlon. Now we're just a couple of weeks away, so we're in that final stages, and we're getting down to what equipment do we need, how do we have that organized, when does that need to be delivered at the site, and then this coming Sunday we'll actually run the triathlon, so we'll get down to that actionable item. And it fits that framework very well, and was very effective for us in being able to conquer something that when we first started it seemed pretty daunting.
Sure, no, great example.